Here we are. People filter in with the live. Your mic, I don't think you know this because you don't deal with very much of the back end stuff. But this live scenario is much easier for CJ production wise than the recorded scenario. I feel like his job work went down, but his pay stayed exactly the same.
Yeah, we just do it live. Everybody knows we're just making shit up on the fly.
Yep.
CJ fires some graphics in there.
But there's even less graphics, though, I guess is what I'm saying from the live version. There's just far less graphic. He has to sit through it, but he has to sit through it anyway. You know,
sure. That's most of his job is sitting through it.
I mean, I know the holidays are here, but I mean, is a pay cut in order? I think is the question as he listens to this. Just maybe negotiate a pay cut for CJ right here on the pod.
No, I think he should say the same. I stand with CJ.
Motherfucker. All right. Oh, it's Black Friday. Let people filter in. Black Friday deals all over the place. Right here on the Ricky, tons of Black Friday deals.
You can listen to this podcast for like 35% off. It's pretty crazy.
Yep. Somebody asked. CJ answered. Is the Reddit AMA? We're doing a bunch of AMA. I've tons of great questions. Is it on r/Sixers? It is. But if anyone who's here on YouTube, Twitch, CJ, you can just pull them from there if you want during the AMA. They don't have to go to the Reddit or the Twitter. That was just for the pre-production part of it. All right, we can go. Here we are, live. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook by using promo code RTRS. And it's brought to you by Body Bio, supplements for a healthier life. Get 20% off any purchase at bodybio.com with code RTRS20. For what it's worth, here on Black Friday today, we're not going to get credit for it, but they're 25% off all day. So just use whatever code they have. Big Barker Therapeutic Dog Beds. Get yours at bigbarker.com/Ricky. LL Pavorsky Jewelers, where Rights to Ricky Sanchez listeners go and get engaged. Black Friday, all engagement rings are free. And Kinetic Skateboarding. Get free tunes for the life of your board with the purchase of any new snowboard right now. On the show today, Sixers wrap up their 6-game road trip, not a minute too soon. Seems like Joel Embiid will return sometime in the next 2 games. John Gonzalez is publicly challenging the Soft Shit Award handed to him from Mike. And to celebrate Black Friday, we'll do a Ricky AMA from Reddit and from Twitter and from YouTube and Twitch Live, get you into the holiday spirit. I mentioned Kinetic Skateboarding. I'm actually going to go to their Instagram right now because it has all of their deals. Man, Black Friday deals abound at Kinetic Skateboarding, both in person and online. I know I would love to have a Kinetic Skateboarding gift. Where's my hoodie? I have a hoodie somewhere, the Spike Eskin Pro Model hoodie. But 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Oh, that's over. But all day, 20% off Kinetic apparel if you're listening live, 20% off all cruiser completes and longboards, free snowboard tunes for the life of your snowboard, 15% off snowboard outerwear. That is happening all day. Kinetic Skateboarding in store right there. So go to kineticskateboarding.com or hit up Kinetic. They are on Route 202 right there in Delaware, right past the PA Delaware border. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here. Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name, say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name, say the name, say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who's giving you 25% off everything he has in stock today up until midnight to celebrate Black Friday. That is Mike Levin.
Hello. We're full. We're satiated. We are somewhat thankful. We're doing a podcast.
CJ, by the way, that one question in the YouTube, that sort of XXX question, I know the answer to it. I just want to tell you, I know the answer. I know the answer to it. That's all I want to say. That's for the YouTube chat people only. The Apple Podcast 5-star review of the pod. Since we started doing these again, they've started like ramping up. So we are going to get to 3,000 where I read all the reviews. We're at 2,969. It's in between those pods is long enough to where I forget how horrible it is to do. I know there are some people that listen, but they're horrible to do. This one comes from, leave us a 5-star rating and review. This comes from BDizzle830. Subject line, have twice recommended a jeweler I have never used. Not here to be entertained, just here for the terrible takes. So here we go. So the road trip is over, thank God. I actually think they went 2 and 4 on the road trip, mostly West Coast. What was it? Indiana was first. I'm trying to think of the 2 dates that weren't West Coast. But anyway, the Sixers go 2 and 4 on the trip. I actually would make the argument that the trip was more of a positive than a negative, all things considered. I wonder if you would do the same, even though they, lost more games than they won. I actually thought it was a win overall.
Yeah, I mean, you can make that case. It's tough to. There were games that they could have won, and it's just like, yes, under the circumstances, no Joel, no Tobias, limited Tobias, limited Seth, limited Danny. Matisse had just gotten back. Like, yes, 2 and 4, a lot of positives to take from this thing. Ultimately suits them down the road. All that stuff, of course. Would have liked to win one more game. And it's just like, it's a very crowded and good East. Yeah. And every game is going to count for sure in the fight to avoid the play-in. And if Embiid's healthy, they probably will avoid it. But it's the kind of thing where if he misses more time like this, are they scrappy and fun? Are they like more capable than we expected? Sure. But like, you got to get some wins in there. And they're in every like 1 through 11 or whatever is separated by like 3 games. So it's going to be tough to get into like a does a top 4 seed matter that much in the scheme of things? Probably not.
Yeah, I'd rather have one more home game than not have one. But,
for sure, but a bigger thing is, especially if the Ben trade this year isn't as fruitful as we hope. Right. Then it's probably not the year anyway. But a lot of good stuff to take from it, especially Maxey. It's the main thing this season. Everyone knows. But it's fun.
Yeah, I would say that, and we'll get to this in the AMA because I try to mix up the basketball questions and the non-basketball questions in the AMA, the Reddit and Twitter AMA. But one of them sort of addressed the idea of what their record's going to be at the end of, where they'll be. I sort of think that like they're either, record aside, they're either going to be good enough to compete for a championship or not, right? And I think if they are, then where they are, it would be nice to be a top 4 seed for sure. But I would rather have all these things, and a lot's going to depend on that trade. Like I think there's, depending on whatever happens with the trade, I don't think they can be a title contender without that trade. Right? Like considering the players they have now. So they'll either make the trade and have enough players to be a title contender, and all these things will help. Charles Bassey being playable, Tyrese Maxey getting to put the team on his shoulders and win some and lose some. All these things, I think, in the end, regardless of what the record is, will be a positive. And of course, you want to avoid the play-in, all that stuff. But either you're going to be good enough, and we're going to have like this positive outlook, or we're not. I think is the big picture takeaway from that.
I agree with that. But it's good to get better looks at guys. It's good to get Isaiah Joe playable minutes. It's good to see like, if a situation comes around, if the trade comes around where it's not just Ben for picks and stuff, but like Ben and stuff for maybe a higher value player, then Isaiah Joe getting minutes on this trip, Charles Bassey being the next like Tony Bradley, like those kinds of things where the bench guys that we can spare of, oh, that actually looks like a high value young player in, I'm not trying to trade those guys, but if the right trade comes around, then you have to move them. And the Sixers have the depth to be able to do it, where they can survive that kind of thing. So ultimately it's very good. It was always frustrating to lose, frustrating that Embiid got COVID and has been out for this long and seemingly was like quite sick.
But that means the odds of him getting COVID for the rest of the year are much decreased. So it's frustrating that he got COVID, but if he's going to get COVID, and it seems like he's okay, if he's going to get COVID, I'd rather get COVID now than get COVID in March from a basketball standpoint, So
yeah, I mean, let's see how he looks. It's been weird for him to be away for this long and not heard from for this long. This is the longest, since his first or second year where we just don't hear from him during a season. And so I think it was, I forget what broadcast it was, but they said that Embiid's very active on the text thread, which I thought was nice. Would love to see what that text thread is like. Who is hearting things? Who is a quick haha? Who is
somebody add me into the text thread just for a day? Get me into the text thread for a day.
Kick me out after a little bit. I just want to get a sense of the vibe. Who's talking too much on the text thread? Everyone being like, George, you can't fucking, dude, text me directly if you have something to say. But to bring it to the text thread, you're not going to get an answer out of it. I'm very mindful of the text thread, and I'm mindful of a group email. Some people really just this is my chance. Again, it's the same thing I said last week. I guess it was in the pre-show pod, but people being this is my chance to be funny. I'm gonna rope 12 other people on this text thread or on this email chain to be it's my time. It's my fucking time.
Who never responds on the text thread? Who on this text thread? Who's on the text thread and also never responds?
Yeah. I mean, someone shouldn't respond.
But who?
When I'm a low level writer on here's the writer's room text thread, I'm very you got to be judicious. You can't be I'm not fucking around here. I'm not gonna make myself look like an ass on this text thread. And so Charles Bassey shouldn't be responding.
Right.
He should
right.
only be thumbs upping and hearting and maybe the occasional haha, or once in a while saying I'll be there. Anything like that. You can't overdo it.
So who is on the text thread, doesn't respond, but also wishes he wasn't on the text thread, right? So Bassey is happy he's on the text thread, but who is the not responder, but wishes he wasn't on the text thread?
Let's see,
because that is a thing too.
Could be Shake.
It's so definitely Shake.
There's because Drummond's got jokes, Danny's got jokes.
Yeah.
They said, I think it was Seth that said he's active on the text thread, so Seth is also an option, but
Seth
maybe not. But I think Shake is just kind of come on, guys, whatever. I'll check it later.
I don't want to go too into the Warriors game because it was 2 nights ago, and by the time people listen to this, I would say just from a road trip perspective, and then we can, if there's anything specifically from the game you wanted to get into, but from a road trip perspective, the wins, as you mentioned, Maxey, right? Of course. It was funny, you mentioned all the things I had written down. Maxey doing what he did, Isaiah Joe finding a way back onto the court, which was nice because I wasn't totally sure that was ever even going to happen this season, given how he played in the beginning and how quickly he played himself out. Bassey being playable, and just I don't know that there's anything you could do with it, and he is what he is, but Drummond just in extended minutes is just another reminder that they should have done something. Not that he's not capable for 5 minutes a game, but they should have tried something different. It's just obvious they should have tried something different.
Yeah. I mean, there couldn't be a worse matchup than the Steph Warriors for Drummond, because you got to be moving your feet and being one step ahead on defense and effort. And, if you can't hang on the perimeter on switches against Juan Toscano Anderson, then you're probably not going to play in the playoffs, or you shouldn't in most matchups. And so, this is a bad Drummond game. There's going to be bad Drummond games. There's going to be bad Drummond games when he's just a backup. There's going to be the occasional good Drummond game when he's filling in for Embiid and he has 25 rebounds, and it's what? How did they get him? And it's then you see him just get absolutely dusted.
Yes.
And be that's how. That is exactly how. I think he's more than I think he's still a better backup center than most, but like he has his limitations. And it's really, I was excited. No, excited is wrong. Optimistic might also be wrong. I was
Curious?
positive I was taking from the Drummond signing was that he could do a little bit more on his own in like an end of shot clock situation than Dwight. At this point in Dwight's career, obviously early in Dwight's career, he could do a lot. And sometimes Drummond's gotten fouled and he's had a couple plays. I still believe that, but like, man, he only has one post move. It is one. He does the one thing. He will take one dribble with his right. He will spin the opposite way. He will pump fake. He'll take a slow turn back to the other way. He'll bring the ball right in front of his face and then shoot it so that the defender can block it. Like that is the move.
That's his move.
That's his move. That is his move. And he does it every time. He did it like 6 times in the Warriors game. Kevon Looney is like, thank you. I will block the shot. It wasn't good. It's like, and he manages to look so small on those plays.
Right. And he's so enormous. He's
so big. He's hulking. He's got such long arms. And when he goes up with shots, it seems like he's going like trying up and unders. He wants to, one thing that always kills me is like big guys that want to be small guys. And I think Drummond has that occasionally with his post moves and with like occasionally his passing and dribbling a little bit. He's like trying to be more than he is. And when he plays to his strengths, he is effective a lot of the time. But it kills me to be like, why do you look like 6'4", like a small conference power forward in college? That's like going up against it's like 6'4" power forward that does dirty work in the post, like doesn't shoot outside of 4 feet, but you're like 7 inches taller than that. And I don't know.
He looks like Yang. He looks like you know what I mean? Like
no touch.
Yeah.
No touch whatsoever.
It is Black Friday and we don't have any deals. We're not doing a Black Friday sale, but you should be shopping for those who you love, and you love your dog, and you should be shopping for a gift for your dog. And what better gift than a good bed that within 28 days, proven in a study, it will improve your dog's health. Within 28 days, not bullshit. Within 28 days. Big Barker dog beds. BigBarker.com/Ricky. You go to that link, you get the Process Pup patches. And I'm putting out a call to Process Pup owners. I know that the beds are selling with the Process Pup things, but I haven't mentioned in a while to send us pictures. Send us pictures. So if you haven't sent us a photo of your Process Pup on the Big Barker dog bed with the patch, send it to us. BigBarker.com/Ricky is where you get the bed. Send it. Rights to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com is where you send the photo. Would love to see some new. I was having some trouble with the gallery for a while, but I'm not anymore. Anyway, these beds are legitimately and proven better for your dog's health than the bed that you have. Proven for joint support, general health, mobility, quality of life, all of these things. Penn Vet did a study on Big Barker dog beds, and there was an incredible difference, a noted difference. Look, I know that the bed that you spent $79 on because you saw an Instagram ad for it, you think it looks plush, but it's not supportive. When you fall asleep, when you're sleeping for 8-10 hours, or if your dog 16 hours, looking plush is nice. Feeling like a pillow is nice, but being supportive and actually making that dog feel more comfortable, more energetic, because the effects of sleeping on a bad bed is very important. BigBarker.com/Ricky. A proper mattress for an older dog will increase energy and mobility levels and reduce wear and tear on a younger dog. And Big Barker, they do have giant ones, but as I was mentioning to a family member yesterday, my aunt, Debbie, actually, I was like, there's a Barker Jr. for your tiny 12-pound dog. There's a 10-year warranty. The foam doesn't flatten or they will replace it for free. A 1-year at-home trial. If you don't like it, if your dog doesn't like it, full refund. They'll even pay for the shipping. Handmade in the USA. Big Barker dog beds. You mentioned Drummond. I feel like Drummond's like moves or whatever. I feel like there is like this connection mentally, or they're in this. Matisse Thybulle is a way more effective player than Andre Drummond, but they do have this thing on offense that they both do where I've mentioned about Thibault all the time that he plays like he's in an all-star game sometimes, that if he turns it over, it doesn't matter. And he doesn't really think about the consequences of his actions. So here's Maxi, who is so careful with the ball, right? Doesn't want to turn it over, doesn't do anything that's risky. And here we have Drummond and Thibault, who are as opposite as it could be. I feel like we saw the very best and the very worst of Thibault on the road trip. The worst offensively, even some of the best offensively in transition, just sort of a move you didn't expect from him, but in half court just still seems sort of clueless a lot of the time, and doing things that are too risky for somebody like Matisse Thybulle or Andre Drummond to do.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game against the Warriors where Matisse's offense just like kills you. It was especially in the half court, really tough showing for him, because Golden State has a top defense because they just like really try hard. It's a little bit like they have Draymond and they try hard. That's pretty much the whole thing. And they switch and they rotate and they move. It's got some Toronto vibes to it. And Draymond's just, even though he's in foul trouble, he still impacts the game so much. And when Matisse and Drummond are out there together, it's just like against this team, really bad. I mean, even Drummond's rolling is impacted by Matisse being there, because if Matisse is on the weak side, then Matisse's guy can just like tag so hard so that Matisse is wide open for three, but it's a cross-court pass and you're like, go for it, basically. And he did a lot of just like standing there. I get he's covering Steph, and I think did a pretty damn good job on Steph. Like,
I agree.
Steph's one of the best players in the league, obviously, and he's going to do his thing. But I thought Matisse made it difficult on him a bunch of times. But there were so many times when Matisse is just like standing there in the corner, and like in the Kings game, there was cutting, there was movement. In this one, it just felt like he's like, I'm covering Steph and I don't really have much else on offense. When the ball gets kicked to me, like I'll kind of dance around a little bit. I'll do a drive and turn around and pass it directly behind me. And he got it picked a couple times, which is tough. It's tough. I mean, like, look, it's an Embiid rotation. If it's an Embiid Matisse situation and he can play with him, Matisse Drummond it's just tougher because there's so little shooting and so little creation. And it's also tough to take him off the floor because they're playing against a bunch of fast athletes with high motors, and Matisse is like the only athletic guy in the rotation. So once the Warriors started going and moving around and moving fast and getting everything, there was like nobody else to keep up with them. And then his offense was rough. So it's tough. I mean, seeing Doc go small is interesting. I thought this was the first time I'd seen Matisse really like as the center do some like screening and rolling a couple times. I'd like to see that for a little bit of a longer stretch, maybe when Tobias is there.
Especially considering his athleticism, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But this felt like, honestly, this game felt like the most processed feeling that I've had in a while.
Competing for three quarters.
Yeah, competing for three quarters. And also just like they went up big and everyone's like, holy shit, like sick. We're doing really good. And like even, I mean, the half court shot that Jordan Poole hit was a kind of a backbreaker in those last few minutes in the second quarter when the lead just evaporated. He also hit that shot in college playing for Michigan over Houston to kick out, to eliminate Houston in the tournament, and won Alyssa some money and lost me some money. So that is a particularly stinging feeling to see that again. But just like they also looked, you know, without Joel and Toby, they looked scared out there after they got sped up. The crowd shook them, which happens with Steph, which happens with when they get like momentum dunks and everything. By the way, it really made them look kind of young and rattled, which is fun. It's a process game. They had no business winning that game, especially on the road. But like, it was a familiar feeling back once again.
Forgetting about right now, I don't know if there's a team in the history of the NBA that can shake another team more than a Steph Curry led Warriors team at home, because it's terrifying. Like, and by the way, they still don't even have Klay Thompson on the court, but like what the other team can do all of a sudden seems impossible. And it seems like they have more players than you do. Yeah. And when the crowd starts going, like there's this panic because it doesn't seem fair, you know? And Steph Curry obviously, you know, has had might have statistical seasons that are better than this one, but there's this moment where, and this is how a prime happens, right? A prime happens where your athleticism is still a plus, and your mental thing, like you age into a world where mentally you see the game differently and your athleticism is still there. But then there's this other thing that is just past that, where the mental thing is like way above, and you've decreased a little bit athletically. And Steph just feels that way to me. This wasn't the greatest Steph game, and it might not be statistically the best season, but I feel like he's like in the Jordan last year of the second three-peat thing, where he just is seeing the game and has like this mental effect that that is like rarely seen. Like he's just in this perfect spot. It'll be, I'm not cheering for any other team but the Sixers to win the title, but it would be neat to see Steph win the title like at this point in his career with how he's playing, you know?
Yeah. Very fun play to watch. And I thought it's fun to see Seth and Steph play against each other.
For sure. Yeah.
And I thought classic Seth game in the sense that he got incredibly hot early and then kind of disappeared for a while. He's good. Seth is good, man. And it's fun to watch him like just beat guys off the dribble and have nice touch. Anytime Seth or Maxey goes like high and soft off the glass, it reminds me so much of Iverson, the feeling of him doing that, and just the coolest. And it's cool, man. Seth is a good player. It's fun to watch. Newbeck made note of it, but with Seth out there and Matisse on Steph, it forced Maxey to cover Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, not great.
Which was just a tough situation. I mean, just like that's the kind of thing where it's like, yes, I would love to have Tobias or Matisse. Tobias is sometimes, but it's with fadeaways. But like Andrew Wiggins was just like, he's not a great player. He's very up and down. He's a very frustrating player to watch. But like this guy's 7 inches smaller than me. I can dunk whenever I want. I'm just going to take him in the post and put him there. Yeah. And I would like Matisse to do that a little bit more against like matchups where they're clearly just hiding their little point guard on him, whether it's Trae Young or Steph or whatever. Just like get in there, seal, and like let somebody throw a lob in there and you can just like dunk it. I would like a couple more of those kinds of things, because it feels, if when you get 2 baskets in a row and you feel like, oh, we got to change something, like Maxey can't be covering Wiggins, and it might be a way to make, in the playoffs especially, like make that guy work harder, because you need Matisse out there for 25 minutes at least against those kinds of players.
Well, and by the way, like the wait, did I lose what I was about to say? Oh, Wiggins, boy, if he isn't proof that if you're not asked to do too much and if you're put in the right role, you can really thrive. Even given the contract, which is out of size for how good he is, but like this finally for the Warriors, they finally have Wiggins in the years that they've had him, right? Like in the what's his fuck Harrison Barnes role or whatever, where he's a different player than Barnes, right? But like in that role where they're only asking a certain thing, and then when he explodes for 36 because he has the ability to occasionally do it, it is less surrounded by those games where you're like, fuck, man, we asked too much of him and he shot 7 of 25 for 21 points, you know? So he is evidence that the situation of a player, especially a sort of a, you know, not mid-level, but slightly above mid-level player, what they can be if they're in the right spot.
Totally. It goes to show what we've been saying all along, what the whole process is about, is once you get the number one guy locked in, it does so much doesn't matter. So many things. If Steph wasn't on this team and it was Wiggins and like, you know, even Donovan Mitchell
D'Angelo
instead
Russell.
of Steph, D'Angelo, any of those guys instead of Steph, like then he would struggle and he would be asked to do too much. But because you have the number one guy there and he's a legitimate number one guy, not like a, you know, third tier number one guy that like gets some play in the regular season, but in the playoffs just isn't as good. Like Steph is the dude. Then it makes it so much easier for your team building situations, and that's why I have faith in a guy like Tobias, who's not perfect for his contract, neither is Wiggins, like those kinds of things. Like you wish you were paying that guy less, or you wish there was somebody else in there instead. But like he's capable in the ways he's capable of, and it's going to take Embiid and at this point probably whoever they get for Ben or Maxey continuing to make the leap for like the Sixers to hit their heights. And they now have the depth and versatility everywhere except for backup center to compete if Embiid can prove that he's obviously him and Steph are very different players, but like he's a number one type guy that can make everybody else. Like it doesn't, some of it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter that we're paying Tobias too much money. It doesn't matter that you're paying Andrew Wiggins too much money because you have fucking Steph Curry.
Yeah.
And he can make it happen.
So before we get to the AMA, I wanted to read you a tweet from John Gonzalez, friend of yours, obviously retired at this point. And you gave him the soft shit award in the last pod to, you said that like for his position on the LeBron, Isaiah Stewart thing, you said he was a pearl clutching a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he tweeted, "My position was purposefully misrepresented. My position was LeBron should have gotten more games than Stewart. I don't blame Stu for being pissed. My lawyers demand a retraction." And then calls you a liar and releases personal text messages, a text thread with you, Alyssa, your fiance, Colleen Wolfe of NFL Network, also of John Gonzalez's marriage, and releases a text thread basically
I didn't think it proved anything.
Yeah, look, I think LeBron, for a great player, just sucks in so many ways. But if his point was that it wasn't, I don't think his point in this text was that LeBron deserved more games than Stewart, and I'm
that's
not
what
sure
I was saying.
That's true.
I was saying you are being a pearl clutching person by saying what LeBron did deserves
more than Stewart,
and being like that's intentional. I think the line in a game, in the heat of a moment of a game, the line between intentional and somewhat intentional and barely intentional is like zero. There's no line for it. You're just reacting in the moment. It's not like, and when you slow it down and you look at things and you go like, what is the intent of this? And those kinds of things. It's like, you guys are scrapping, you're huge guys battling for a rebound, and like it's aggression, intentions are high. Occasionally you're going to be like, fucking whatever. And you pop somebody in the face, and he got him it's more of a like side of a fist than it was an elbow, but like, yeah, whatever. Like it happens. He immediately goes like, oh, my bad. Like you could see that he really puts a hand out and goes like, my bad. Like it could have been like, okay, it could have been a shove, whatever. I don't blame Stewart for getting pissed off. Like he got hit in the face. He can be pissed off. He got like, while the reason John got the soft shit award was not because of Isaiah Stewart. It was because of LeBron. It was because of him saying like, that is intentional and not accidental. And like, he deserves something. It's like, who cares? Like, John doesn't play basketball anymore. He hasn't played basketball in fucking decades. So he doesn't understand.
Oh, no.
Alyssa almost responded like, lace him up, then you can talk. Alyssa's
no.
also on my side.
Yeah. Well, Alyssa's a Laker fan, though. Alyssa's a Laker fan.
No, she doesn't care. She's not a LeBron defender. She's a Lakers defender, but not a specifically LeBron. She shares some of your feelings about LeBron.
Okay. As most Laker fans, I think deep down do, actually.
Sure. I think that's fair. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, those things happen, and to be like, look at this, like this is intentional and calculated, and it's just like, who gives a fuck? It happens in basketball, and you could move. And had Isaiah Stewart moved on and been like, okay, yeah, whatever, all good, then it would have been fine. But it's the reaction that made it look worse, and then everyone's like doing slow motion LeBron things to be like, this, look what he decided to punch him in the face. And it's just like, calm down, everybody. It happens. And that's why he got the soft shit award, and the text message proved nothing.
My take is this: the text message proved nothing. That regardless of, and I would allow John to present his case, regardless of what case he presents, you are the soft shit award declarer, and I would not challenge that at all. The only players in the NBA that I think are, you know, you get like to the Morrises and the Pat Beverleys, and I don't think they're trying to hurt people, but I don't think they care if they do. They're
Yeah,
sort of like
they get less of a benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
In Draymond occasionally is like that. Grayson Allen had a reputation for that in college.
Yeah.
What's his name? Zaza a little bit.
Yep.
Those kinds of things.
The only thing I would say on John's side, but he didn't make this case, he just sort of and posted private text messages, is that in our world, we do punish the results of an action different, like regardless of intent, differently, right? Like if you get caught drunk driving hugely and you don't hurt anybody, there's a different punishment than if you do, even if your action, the intent was the same. But John didn't make that point. John just sort of cried and posted personal text messages without the permission of other people in that thread. So if he would like to defend himself, it's fine, but you are the final judge. And I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Before we get to the AMA, body bio. Think about this for Black Friday. Think about this for a gift for a loved one. Your immune system, your health. What's more important than health? Here we are, like our lives. What's more important than your health? Body Bio is a locally owned, a family operated supplement company. And you're like, I don't know. For supplements, I'd like to have some big giant company that doesn't care about me. No, you want to have a company like Body Bio who, as the science changes, they can change quickly. You think a big, huge company can change quickly as science changes? No. Body Bio can, though. The products we've talked about that I'd like for you to try, Elite, which is a supplement for your hydration. Hydration, your body's mostly water. Hydration is about more than water, though. It's about electrolytes. And you don't want to have to consume electrolytes with a bunch of sugar or artificial flavors or artificial colors. And that's what Elite is for. Liposomal vitamin C. Vitamin C, also another part that is important for your immune system. And taking those supplements are a waste because they're water soluble and you piss them right out. You can't, even food, even vitamin C from food, you piss right out. It's water soluble. So Body Bio was like, well, we should make a vitamin C that doesn't release until it gets to your cells because your cells are made of lipids. That's what we should do. That way, if we put the same amount of vitamin C in it, we're still going to have more vitamin C in your actual body. That's what Body Bio does. Just go to bodybio.com, use code RTRS20. You get 20% off everything. All the other products they have, Calm, Butyrate, all those things. Bodybio.com, RTRS20. Your health is important. It's important to us. And try it for a gift. Maybe you get a subscription to Elite. That way somebody you love gets Elite every month. Bodybio.com, code RTRS20. Before we get to the AMA, the hard to stomach YouTube comment of the week. This comes from Noah Skaroff. Maxey is rapidly becoming Tony Parker with a little less passing and a little more shooting and defense. That's a pretty damn good player. Tony Parker, an interesting comp. I think the results may be similar to Tony Parker. When I'm watching, it doesn't feel at all similar, though. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Tony Parker, like small guard, not known for his outside shooting, and having a package of floaters, I think there's a similarities there, and he's quick. But I think especially, and maybe this was hard to remember exactly early in Tony Parker's career, but later, so much of it was change of pace and getting guys off balance. And right now, Maxey doesn't have so much of that. It's just he's got the one speed. And he gets there and he beats guys off the dribble, and it's fun to see him draw fouls. I think right now we were watching over the last couple of games, Maxey taking like the foul drawing leap. Yep. And whether that's him, he's been putting the work in, or finally refs are starting to call it, or whatever it is. It's exciting to see him get like 8-10 free throws a game without Embiid. So that's definitely nice to see. It's hard to look at. I think about this a lot. I thought about it with Ben. It's hard to look at guys aside from Embiid, who is so constantly in my mind, and his career arc is, and where he came from is always right there. But it's hard to look at, like, for me at least, season to season improvement over a long stretch of time and see like, oh, this guy used to look like this, and now he looks like this. There's a little bit of recency bias or recency awareness in the sense of, if you can look at someone from season to season and go like, oh, Tobias added this or Embiid added this or whatever. But if you look at like, then cut back like 4 or 5 seasons ago and look at them and be like, oh, wow, that's a totally different player. It's hard to kind of keep that in my mind a lot with most guys. Also, most guys aren't improving so drastically as Maxey hopefully will continue to. But it's a little bit like, obviously I've talked about this a lot. Watching Housewives, watching Beverly Hills, currently finish New York. But you like, if you look at someone in season 2 or 3, and then you see them in season like 11, and you're like, holy shit, what happened there? But if you go one season at a time, it's like, oh, that's natural. It seems like, oh, she got this work done on her face in some way, or that's a didn't know, whatever. And so it seems interesting. Like, it seems fine one season at a time. But like, if I'm catching up on something and then Alyssa's watching it live and I'm seeing like 5 years ahead, I'm like, what did Rinna do to her face? Like, it's tough. And so I think that's the level of like, you go one at a time, you're going to watch Maxey improve. But then I wonder in 4 or 5 years, you look back and go like, he was totally different player. He had a totally different jawline, that kind of thing.
Boy, that seems like the most unnecessary Housewives comparison ever. Like that.
No, it really genuinely, I think it's a great Housewives comparison. I hope our Housewives Ricky listeners will appreciate it.
All right. AMA, we posted on Twitter and Reddit. If you're watching on Twitch or YouTube right now and you have an AMA question, I'll have CJ monitor those. But this one, we'll start with Twitter. This one comes from Shady's Burner. What player on the team tried their hardest during Thanksgiving to get their family to invest in NFTs? I know Mike would love this one. Keep up the great work, fellas. What Sixers player tried to convince their Thanksgiving family and friends to invest in NFTs? I think this is an obvious answer, but I'm curious about your response.
I mean, I guess Tobias, but I don't think that he seems like a guy that's like forcing anyone. He seems to be like down to have a conversation, but he doesn't seem pressy in the way that like those people that believe in that worship NFTs and Bitcoin or whatever seem to be like, I must evangelize this.
It is Tobias, though. If it's anybody, he's most likely. It's got to be Tobias. You know,
maybe, yeah.
I don't even know if anyone on the Sixers would care enough besides Tobias to argue.
Well, they all have like their pictures or whatever as their Twitter obvious.
Why do you think that happened? Do you think
I don't know. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it.
Is it a Maury text thread? Hey, guys.
Is Maury in the text thread?
Yeah.
Is Maury in the team text thread? There's like the team plus Doc, the team plus Daryl. I don't know.
By the way, it's been a little while. Like, I guess I would rather, if we had a choice about when we should have him on the pod, I'd rather after the trade have Maury. But it's been a little while.
I think that's what we've without discussing it, have collectively agreed.
Yeah. Well, why try? What's the point? Beforehand. This comes on Reddit from T Brea, Brea 12. Fuck, marry, kill Brian Colangelo, Ben Simmons, and the sesame seed that almost killed Zaire Smith.
Okay. I would kill Brian. No. Okay. I would fuck Ben. Obviously, he's the hottest of the three. I would.
Are you going to marry something that might kill you every time?
I might. Yeah. Because I'm not allergic to sesame, but I am allergic to nuts. The sesame seed would be tough for me to marry. Brian, I go back and forth if he's a good husband because yes, he threw his wife under the bus. Unclear if she endorsed it or encouraged that. I'm waiting for the expose, and they're still together. So there's a chance that like they've, are doing great and work past it and work through it and all that stuff. So there's a chance he's a great husband. There's a chance. It's possible. So we don't know. So
because remember, if she was one of the, I assume she was one of the people operating the social media accounts. I believe there were several, but some of it was just defending him, defending the honor of the collars, the Italian collars.
Yeah, it was a misguided way of defending him. And I
Right.
agree that he was at least somewhat part of it. And I definitely believe that Jerry was part of it.
Mhm.
Definitely Jerry was part of it. That fucking, the gay parking attendant, 77 years old, Jerry, you can't, having watched a lot of Adrian Dantley, get out of here. Jerry, you're guilty.
Before we get to the rest of the AMA, look, holidays are coming up. What better time to propose to your loved one than that time with an LL Pavorsky Jewelers ring? Of course, on this Black Friday sale, all engagement rings are free, are 100% free. I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow.
Mike, of course, used LL Pavorsky. I'm just kidding. Mike used LL Pavorsky for his engagement ring purchase. Is one of the, what number are we at? We're at like 230s or somewhere. Just nothing but a number, Mike was, but continues to affirm that.
I think it's well above that at this point.
Really, Mike continues to affirm that the process was amazing, purchasing the ring from LL.
Can't stop affirming.
But there's so many other people that don't work for the pod who have done the same thing. LL, the first sponsor of the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast, basically guilted us into doing it. And here he still is, reaping the benefits of being right. He was right. We were right. We were all right. Hey, like I said, with the holidays coming up, good time to propose, good time to just buy a gift anyway. You know, even if you're already married, LL Pavorsky Jewelers is where you want to go. No pressure, like with other jewelers. No, not tons of salespeople when you walk in the store, just LL. And he only does the in-store, stuff by appointment only. How fucking baller is that? And no matter if you want to spend $1,000 on an engagement ring or $100,000 on an engagement ring, Lee will treat you exactly the same and hook you up. 707 Walnut, been there for over 30 years. 215-627-2252 at LL Pavorsky or Lee at llpavorsky.com. We thank Lee for obviously supporting our charities as well. Providence Animal Center, Coded by Kids, LL Pavorsky Jewelers.
Skip the wedding, just get engaged twice.
This comes from Scott Much on Twitter. Has Rebel gotten more used to the new house and dog walker? And Drummond versus Dwight, 1-on-1 to 11. Can you foul out on a 1-on-1 game? Who wins, or do we all lose? So we'll start with Drummond versus Dwight. Let's say you get 10 fouls, 1 to 11. Who wins? Mike? It's Drummond, right?
I think it's Drummond. Yeah.
More skilled. Like basketball skilled. Yeah.
Dwight dribbles one time and like the game's over.
Yeah. I think this
the ball is like out of air. Like the court is broken.
Mm-hmm.
Can't happen.
As far as Rebel getting more used to the dog walker in the house, I told this story years ago. Of course, Rebel's never been good with new people. His dog walker in Delaware County was our father-in-law. I had mentioned that with his new dog walker, every time he saw this dog walker, he pooped in the house and ran away. That dog walker was scared off. That dog walker's boss stepped in and he said, I am not afraid of Rebel. I'm going to try this. And Evan, his dog walker, came over every day for 6 weeks without walking Rebel and would sit about 10 feet away and throw him little pieces of hot dog. Finally, Rebel decided he liked this guy and will now go on walks with him and is excited to see him. So Rebel has a dog walker. In fact, he has a new friend. So shout out Evan. Look, if you're in, I don't know how many listeners we have in North Jersey. ESP Pets is the name of the place. But I thank them for finally, Rebel has his first dog walker. We've had him for 6 years. Has his first non-family member dog walker. This comes from Layman Law on Twitter. I needed this, beating the pod. Who would win in a game between 5 Steph Currys and 5 Thybulles? I don't think it's as clear as first impression. I do. It's just the Currys, right? I mean,
Steph Curry, yes.
Yeah.
Steph, yes.
Even
Steph,
though the 5 Thybulles would be very chaotic, it's still the 5 Currys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if I had 5 Thybulles, I would put 2 of them right next to the basket and just throw a lob to whoever,
mm-hmm.
and it should be a dunk every time. But Steph would be hitting threes quite often.
Come on. Steph is better on defense than Thibault is on offense. That's what this it's one of the greatest players of all time. From Reddit, from MSF 6534, is Mike getting married in California or PA?
Haven't said it yet, but probably California.
Yeah, that was
definitely not PA.
Wow. Is that a dismissal of PA? Is it more likely New Jersey than PA?
No, the West Coast.
Okay. From Nomad JBC on Reddit, what is the biggest off-air argument you two have had?
It all blends together.
Yeah. I mean, the one that we've
long ass time, man.
Yeah. The one that we've mentioned was on a pod, but never made it on the pod, was the Phillies Michael Franco argument, which
sure, very, very reasonable thing to argue about, obviously, on a Sixers podcast.
And we don't have the audio of that. There haven't been a lot, but there have been a few. I agree, they all blend together. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer for that. I'll think about it, try to do it next time. This comes from Henry Tui 33 on Twitter. Why doesn't anyone question why Elton Brand makes millions of dollars for doing nothing?
Oh, I don't think that's nothing. Just because we don't know what's the front end. He's not like sending us the minutes of his job. I think Elton does. I'm sure Elton does plenty.
Well, and remember, before they knew they were getting Maury, Elton, they like knighted Elton. They put him in charge when they pushed Rucker out and whoever else it was like Elton had been the GM, but he wasn't the real GM. And when they pushed those guys out, they decided Elton was going to be the real GM, and then Maury came along. So my guess would be, I don't have any inside information on this, zero, but my guess would be that Elton is waiting for the opportunity to have a good GM position somewhere else and doesn't want to jump at that opportunity. But my thought is, because if he's not going to be GM, he might as well stay here with Maury and sort of build that. But my guess is he's waiting for that opportunity, and we'll get it at some point soon. That would be
it's interesting, right? Like a lot of times guys who get, like, he got his first GM job out of nowhere, wasn't expecting it to happen this fast.
Yep.
And a lot of guys, when that happens to, either they are very successful or they flame out and kind of are notoriously seen as like, oh, look who fucked up. But Elton didn't get enough runway to do that. And everyone also knew, like, hey, man, you got thrown into the fire here in a very weird way. So there was like a lot of, I would say he had a lot of room to, no one was expecting him to be like the best executive in the league right away because it's his first time. And then before he could like really get his feet under him, they hired Daryl. So I think like he's in a kind of a nice spot, at least in my mind, just thinking about it. Like,
he's not blamed for anything.
Climbing a ladder. He's not blamed for anything.
Yeah.
He has been a GM, so it's not like someone would give him his first shot at that. And now he gets to work under a guy that is very well respected and at least very specific in how he, team builds. And hopefully Elton is, adding things in his own and learning and making his own thing and whatever. And I think it's kind of a plum position to be in, I would say, where you've had the job, you haven't flamed out, you didn't have too long to like really piss a ton of people off, I think. And now you get to be like, hey, I'm working under this guy that everybody, has had a broad coaching, executive tree in the league. And so I think now he can kind of hang and take his pick when the right job comes along.
As he told us when he appeared at our live show, he said he was offered the assistant GM job at the Hawks before he was offered this job, and he took this one. But I agree with everything that you said. I think you're spot on with that. This comes from the Hippopotamus on Reddit. If you and Mike were captains of a 4-on-4 backyard football game with the members of the current roster, who would be your team? So I think we got to draft this. I think it's got to be you versus me in a draft. CJ, who picks first? Flip a coin, flip a virtual coin. Tell us who picks first.
You can go first, and we'll do a snake draft.
Okay. Snake draft. Oh, so you get the next two. Okay.
Yeah. Very small snake.
My first pick in this draft is Matisse Thybulle.
Okay. I don't think he's going to be a good receiver. I don't think he has the hands for it. A lot of stiff wrists, I would say. Give me Maxi for sure. And I will say, do we say Ben or no? Probably not.
No.
So it's backyard football. So it's one quarterback and 3 receivers. There's no blockers. It's just
I would say maybe one person is a blocker and a lineman and 2 receivers. I've never played 4-on-4 football. It's whatever you say, whatever you want.
I think with 4-on-4, you'd probably just go 3 receivers. Just let everybody run. Nobody's excited to block. So give me. I'm gonna go Jaden Springer. He's built like a football player. He's fast. He's shifty. I think I can get the guy. I probably could have gotten him later, but I think he might be legitimately good.
I'm going to take B-Ball Paul.
That's who I was going to take instead of him. I should have gone B-Ball Paul, then Springer. There's no way you would have taken Springer. Okay. So am I one of the 4?
No.
Okay.
You're the coach.
I'm the GM coach.
Yeah. And by the way, after the draft, I have a thing in my head I'm going to mention about all of this, but
okay. So I have Maxi Springer. Give me Tobias.
That would have been my pick. I'm going to go with Shake Milton.
Interesting. I feel like Shake's probably a good quarterback. So you have Shake, Matisse, B-Ball Paul. And I have Tyrese, Springer, Tobias.
Yep.
I feel like give me Niang. I feel like Niang's quarterback. I feel like Niang's intense, has the right motivation for it. I feel happy with that.
Deciding between 2 people. Give me Embiid.
Okay.
I'm going to have him be my QB. Now, here's why I wasn't going to do Embiid. Is because I think the foreign players are less likely to care about American football. And sort of like, but Embiid is a Packers fan. He loves Aaron Rodgers. And I just think Embiid as this big QB, and then my 3 receivers are B-Ball Paul, Shake Milton, and Thybulle. Just feel like I have a lot of length out there, and that is that's my.
Not a ton of coordination.
No.
Not a ton of low gravity.
Not very skilled.
And I feel like I have some sturdy boys and some quick ones. I feel good about my squad.
On Twitter, this comes from Matt83614547. What is the evolutionary explanation for why humans lost the ability to grow hair on most of their bodies, except the parts that get the hottest and specific sections of the head?
No idea.
So my guess would be clothes. So we all wear clothes, and there is less need for warmth on those sections of the body. We do not wear things on our heads at work or regularly, and that is why there's still hair there. And the eyebrows and shit, that's just sort of like the genetic luck. But I think that's why. And it is the last place where heat escapes the head. This seems like an easy answer to me. I don't know. Maybe there's an evolutionary biologist listening, but if not, I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm definitely right. This comes from Nutbuster3001 on Reddit. How old does Danny Green need to get before he wears his hats like a normal person?
Never. Danny's never going to do it. Danny is the most normal player to do the most weird shit. And that's who he is. That's what he loves.
And I'm going to say that me neither. This comes from Montgomery on Twitter. If Burnergate hadn't been broken, does Colangelo trade Joe to build around Ben?
I have no idea. I don't think ownership would have loved that. I don't think that they would have been necessarily all in about that. So many.
He was pro Ben.
It was definitely pro Ben, but so many just like swinging doors type scenarios of what could have happened had this particular thing not happened. And there's a million, like had Markelle not forgotten how to shoot, and had the Sixers been allowed to, had Hinkie been allowed to talk to Porzingis, not hidden in the bathroom or whatever the fuck. Burnergate, and all sorts of stuff. Embiid played as a rookie, who knows?
Okafor fights, speeding.
That wouldn't have changed anything. The Okafor stuff. I mean, I guess because that was weirdly the last straw, but as a player,
but I feel like trade value, like maybe they're able to get like that was no. But like I think in a lot of ways, it's been a long time, but when that happened, Hinkie's refusal to address publicly and punish him for that. And you remember the press releases came out without Hinkie's name in it. Like, I think he lost power because of what happened there and the way that he handled that. And there's a chance that he could have traded Okafor before everyone realized that he stunk. A chance, not definitely, but a chance.
Well, I think those are two separate things. I think how Hinkie handled that as far as, politically.
Yeah.
For sure. But as far as Okafor's value, if Okafor was great on the court, him speeding and getting into a fight wouldn't have really made that much of a difference. He's a first or second year guy. That happens sometimes, younger players. And so it was more the fact that he fucking sucks.
Yeah, that was a problem.
Yeah.
This comes from Gino Garay on Reddit. We always know Mike is the optimist and you, Spike, as the pessimist when it comes to the Sixers. Is this the same in other areas also, or do roles get switched on certain things? What do you think? Curious about your.
I mean, like other Philadelphia sports teams?
No, I think he means not he or she means non-sports things. I don't know. I think I'm generally optimistic as a human, and generally, I don't feel that I'm pessimistic when it comes to the Sixers. I feel like I'm realistic and it is perceived as pessimistic, but I don't know. That is how I feel like I am.
I guess it just depends. I don't know. I think I'm an equilibrium guy. I think when I'm around people feeling one way, I tend to
go the other way.
Yeah, not even go the other way, but just balance it out. Not like I have to, not like I'm on first take or anything.
No, but offer the other side for perspective's sake.
Yeah, I think that's generally what it is. Yeah.
And by the way, I think I'm similar, which is why it is perceived as we are one side or the other. I think you're generally more hopeful and optimistic about the Sixers than I am.
Especially about young players improving. I think that's because
This comes from Cornaball on Twitter. When Joel is out, are the Sixers better when Tobias is also out? And when do we start admit that playing 200 ball without Joel means the Sixers need to replace 25 soon to avoid getting less than a 4 seed and ensuring a first or second round exit again? Two questions. When Joel is out, are the Sixers better when Tobias is also out?
Over a large stretch of time, I would say no.
I agree. They're better at some things. Yeah. And then I don't think the Sixers being bad without Joe means the Sixers need to make that trade sooner. I made the point earlier, either they're going to be title contenders or not. I don't think saving a 6 seed or a 5 seed for this particular team, if you're not going to make that trade, makes too big of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, Dow's not making the trade because he's like, doesn't feel like it. He's not being like slightly lazy and being like, well, I'll wait in a couple months and whatever. He's wants to get the best value. So the more important thing than like when to make the trade is what the trade is. Mm-hmm. And I also think like they're not a 200, 1-4 type team going forward without Joel. They had a tough road trip against good teams. If you throw some
Yeah,
Orlando's and Detroit's in
40%
there,
of the game.
then they would be, you know, about, I would say slightly under 500 as a team,
Yeah.
especially this year with the East being good.
CJ, put up that question from Guy Roach about water ice simply because of Mike's work history. This comes from Guy Roach on YouTube. What is your favorite water ice flavor? Of course, Mike famously worked at Rita's. Favorite water ice flavor?
It's a tough question. Tough question.
Expert here.
Yeah, this is an expert opinion. I would say when you're in the lab like I was, and you can sort of like blend things, you can try things that the public isn't ready for. Then you can really get in there. I would say I like a little bit. This is not my favorite, but when you put lemon with a bunch of other flavors, it really pops a little bit if you can mix it up the right way. So if it's like a mango or a black cherry, and then you get into the cream ice situation where like a chocolate chip cookie dough. Some people like mint chocolate chip. I think it's not my favorite. Fudge brownie was solid. Yeah, there's like you get like give me a pink lemonade. An Island Fusion is good. I really like an Island Fusion. It's like mango with like a little bit more of a kick. So if I had to pick one specific thing, it might be Island Fusion. But I also sometimes you just got to go and get like a good mix of everything. When you got to ask them to allow them behind the counter and get a little everything.
If I'm going fashion flavors, I'm going Swedish Fish. If I'm going core flavors, I'm just going cherry. I know I'm just going cherry. The best
Those
flavors.
answers are incorrect. Objectively, from an expert opinion, those answers are incorrect. It's like a math problem, and I look at the answers like you got it wrong.
I respect your response to that. A few more. This comes from Matt McDev 10 on Reddit. If Embiid returns tomorrow, what is the Sixers' record for the next 8 games? For perspective, this is Minnesota, Orlando, Boston, Atlanta, Charlotte, Utah, Golden State.
6-2, 5-3, 6-2,
5-3.
They'll feel
Feels
good.
like 5-3. Yeah.
I love. Let's do it. I've been texting Sixers Adam about it. I love this Minnesota team. These are my Wolves, man. Jared Vanderbilt fucking rules. You put him as a 4 next to Towns and let him do a bunch of stuff. He's great. Anthony Edwards is who he is. He's the man, and makes mistakes, but everything. Not a D'Angelo guy, but
sucks.
Like the shooting, just the fact that their point guard and center are both pretty elite catch and shoot guys. Towns doesn't get to shoot enough, but like they're a good team. They're a good team, and they're going to make the playoffs. Maybe they'll make the play-in the West.
Shout out to Sachin Gupta, former Hinky guy. May or may not have been a regular Ricky listener. Can't confirm, but shout out Sachin Gupta, who is head of the Timberwolves now with Gerson Rosas's exit.
That's fun.
Yeah. From Gozak on Twitter, who's the most likely on the Sixers to gorge/overeat on Thanksgiving? This comes down to 3 people for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say the bigger guys.
Yep.
Because they have a bigger mass to fill. It seems like B-Ball Paul could put down a spread.
I hadn't thought about B-Ball Paul. Like, I feel like B-Ball Paul could be on his 6th plate.
Yeah.
And he's more active. So maybe he puts down more than a Drummond. Yeah. That's a good call. Fucking good call. From Grimbo Slice on Reddit, if you could have Thanksgiving dinner with any current or past Sixer, who would it be?
Sitting with Tyrese at the kids' table would be fun.
Current or past, though?
I don't know that. I mostly don't want to talk at Thanksgiving dinner. I'm very focused. I'm concentrating. Once in a while, I say this is so good, but that's about it. I'm not much of a. You got to rip through it before your stomach is aware that it's getting full, and the object is to fill as much up that you then panic. It's like overflow into a concert. Like let a bunch of people in before you realize, like, oh fuck, we let too many people in. That's how I act with trying to eat as much food at Thanksgiving dinner.
I would just pick Charles. Like, having spoken to him, and he is receptive to you arguing with him about sports, even though he is Charles Barkley. I know there's mixed reception of him because of how he talks publicly, but I don't want to talk to some fucking 20-year-old at Thanksgiving. No offense, anyone. I'd rather talk to a grown up. So I know it's old man take, whatever. I don't want to talk to some fucking kid. Give me Charles. From Angelo Masso, would you guys give back the Super Bowl ring if we were guaranteed a deal involving Dame and Simo the Savage?
No.
No, absolutely not. You don't give back the Super Bowl, Angelo. You don't give back the Super Bowl. Two more. This is from Reddit. What do you think about Allah's seemingly progressively homer takes in his commentary during broadcasts? One of Zoo's qualities was keeping him reined in, and the commentary Sixers biased, but fair at the same time. Now that Allah is the senior, his takes are getting cringier from Giddy to Holmes.
I don't mind homer takes on the local broadcast.
That's what they're for.
Yeah.
I
don't mind it when I listen to other broadcasts, whether it's Sixers games or not. Sometimes if it's an NBA TV game, I obviously have to watch that whatever broadcast they're giving me. That's what they're supposed to be for. I think some of the jokes Allah makes are pretty cringy, but that's his age group, and that's how he goes about doing things. I find Allah generally very positive.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to the broadcast very much, which is strange given my profession, but I always say it, like I hardly listen, even when the volume is up. And I agree with you. That's what a local broadcast is supposed to be. When a local broadcast person is neutral, everybody thinks they hate the team. Sure. That's why everyone hates national broadcasts.
Well, so I don't mind criticizing. I don't mind a homer as far as like getting excited about plays. I don't mind a homer as far as like, being a little bit on our side, foul call. What I also like, and when I listen to other broadcasts, is when they are willing to criticize players on the team that they're covering. And that feels like, hey, rather than, unlike these other broadcasts locally on other teams or nationally who don't get to watch as many games, like the home broadcast is watching all of the Sixers games as we are. And so if they are on the broadcast saying something critical of a player, it's because they're coming from a place of like, I've been watching this guy for all of these games. And so I like sometimes when it carries more weight in that sense than when it's just like random national broadcasts just saying the thing that like, this is the book on the guy, and they're just saying the same thing that everybody says for the casual fan tuning into a national game or whatever.
Final AMA question comes from the Jared Reed 13 on Twitter. I shouldn't have made this the final one because I feel like you get 3 musical artists to listen to for the rest of your life. Anything they already have out, you may listen to, plus anything they put out in the future is also fair game. Features or collabs count as well. Who are your 3?
Not a music guy.
Yeah, I know. That's what I shouldn't have.
Wilco's my favorite band, so I'll say. And so if it's, I want to mix, I guess is what I'm going for. So I want some artists with versatility, and so Wilco has some more indie rock. There's a little bit more fun, intense, more jammy stuff, whatever. And they also have a little country vibe to them in their earlier days as well. So I'll take that, some versatility. I will take D'Angelo, also very versatile, mix it up, and then
doesn't put out a lot of material though, so you're not getting a lot of new stuff.
For sure, but he's collabed on a bunch of things over the years with other guys. And I'll mix it up and I'll say Britney Spears, because she has so many fucking hits and a ton of great songs. And I think that is as wide a variety as I can get with those 3 guys.
So I thought about this, I just feel like if it's the rest of my life, I need artists that are going to produce more music. So it definitely takes away some of my favorite artists because I need these artists to continue to produce music, or it doesn't take away all my favorite artists, but I can't listen to the same music for the next 30 years, 40 years, however many years I'm alive. So I go Butch Walker, my favorite artist. He has a huge library of music and will continue to produce. I will go Gang of Youths, not a long time fan, only the last year and a half, but I feel like they have and they only have 2 records, but I feel like they have a long runway. And I'm going to go Hanson. They have a great library and they will never stop making music. I haven't liked the last couple of records, but they're going to keep making music and great library. That's what I got. All right. We are back home Saturday night against the Timberwolves. Originally, I had this marked back maybe as the 25 return game. Not happening. And then Orlando on Monday, which one of these two games will be Embiid's return. So it'll be nice to see the big guy back.
Need him
Anything
back.
else?
Need him back.
Need him
It
back.
would be Embiid at home, just like putting Cat into the basket.
Yep.
Over and over would feel really, really good. And I hope he looks the same. I hope he does not like winded and out of shape for his sake.
And then Boston on Wednesday, which should be fun. So, all right, we'll talk to you next time. Are you done with TTP?
Yeah, lick face.